Right, guys, welcome back. It's been a minute. Happy to be here. So as you guys know, I was moving. So this will be the first stream back after a week and a half or so off. New setup, new internet. So guys, please let me know anything gets a little janky, connection's bad, all that kind of stuff. Please let me know so I can try and dial this in to give you a bit of content. But yeah, we're gonna have a new schedule for a while I continue to job hunt, and in between jobs, we're gonna maximize the chance to get back into streaming and making some content and playing some fun games. So, to that end, like I said, new schedule. Why don't we just go ahead and take a look-see. Yeah, so like I said, we're going to do quote-unquote Manager Mondays. We'll play simulators, manager-type games that I enjoy playing. On Mondays, we're going to start off today with F1 Manager, which not the most exciting thing in the world, admittedly, but is a game that I really enjoy and content that I really enjoy. Tuesdays, we're going to play whatever the hell I want to. This week, we'll play some Diablo 4 for you guys. And Wheel Wednesdays is going to be a new thing. So we'll play F1, Forza, racing games, but also maybe something a little different. Like, for instance, we did play American Truck Simulator that one stream, and that might be something that we kind of stick with as well. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into it. Welcome back, guys. All right, so as you can see here, F1 Manager. It's like I said, not the most watching in the world, but I do thoroughly enjoy some F1. And I have a lot of fun with this game. So I think what we're going to try to do is we're going to take a team, make a new career, pick a team, and we'll just try to do something with that, right? My thought process was, since I'm American, there's an American team.
Formula One.
We will try and get that up.
That spans hearts, minds, and nations, where the 20 best drivers in the world come together to take on some of the world's most historic circuits. And that legacy continues today. The 2021 championship was thrilling from start to finish, and 2022 is set to be even better.
Well,
New regulations will usher in an age of pioneering changes. New driving talent alongside returning champions will be dueling it out to the bitter end. The pressure will be on the team principals in the upcoming season as they manage their drivers, their cars, and the whole team to push to victory. This is not a challenge for the faint-hearted.
Nope.
This is Formula One.
All right, so it's Formula One. Obviously, this game's a little.
Mercedes returned to F1 in 2010, and since 2014, they've won the Constructors' Championship.
It's a little over
back-to-back
a year at this
year.
point. It was ahead of the 2022 season. We're in the 23 season. The new game is actually coming out in about 2 weeks. It's another part of the reason I wanted to play it.
Heading into 2022, Mercedes will insist on dominating the competition. Nothing less than the fastest car and the most wins will give the Silver Arrows the outcome they want to see. At the
So we're going to
joined F1 back in 2016, and they've had a good start to their team career, peaking at 5th place in 2018. Last season, they finished 10th, but they spent a lot of time and focus on designing their car for 2022 and strategizing for the future. Going into the 2022 season, Haas hoped to have a strong car design under their belts. Coupled with hungry drivers, an ambitious team, and strong leadership, they'll be pushing their performance and fighting their way back to the midfield.
So, as I said, not a good team. Finished dead last in the 21 season, ahead of the 22 season. So it's always more fun in this game to pick a challenge to a degree. Starting with a front runner is cool. Play with your favorite team, I guess, but What we'd want to do is in this particular mode, I'm going to try to take a challenge here and kickstart that. We'll talk through some, best practices, things like that. So that'll be something that we can focus on as well. So yeah, we got Haas. They're an American-based team. Team rating's relatively low because they haven't had any recent or legacy success. As it said, best they ever did was 5th. Their season objective for this coming season would be 6th place. Probably a lofty target, to be honest with you. Long-term objective is to get on the podium with consistency, be one of the top 3 performers in the race. Starting balance is low as far as our budget. So team performance compared to the rest of the grid right out of the gate, car performance 7th out of 10, drivers 10 out of 10, staff 5 out of 10 is pretty good. Headquarters quality, dead last. We got our 2 drivers, Mick Schumacher and Kevin Magnussen, Pietro Fittipaldi, reserve driver. And there's our staff right there. Simone Rest is pretty good, the rest of them, yeah. So like I said, first All-American team for 30 years, joined at 16, had an impressive start. They developed heavily for this year, so hopefully we can get a decent jump start. But I think we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Alright, so let's put Amen. Fuck. Meng. And I'll turn first time guidance off because I'm not a first timer. Let's just get right into it. Alright, so there's going to be some things we got to do. Take a look at the calendar. The season just started. It is just starting. So we missed some of the development period going into this. Alright, so we only have $15.2 million to work with. So one of the first things we ever want to do is upgrade the design center. Because that'll take us from being able to do 2 projects at once into 3. That is both designing parts for this year and researching parts for the next season. So this may be a little too much money right out the gate, but that's going to be one of the first things we want to do. Kevin Magnussen is a good driver to have as our second, but long term we're going to want to think about replacing Mick. My go-to, because I know his development is crazy high, and he's only signed on as a reserve driver for Alpine. I would like to sign him. It's not necessarily better than Mick. Let's compare him. We don't know enough about him, but I know his growth potential is high. That's enough for me, so. We'll set a target for him finishing 14th. He's got a high patience, a very high patience, so we can send him a couple offers and see what happens. So he doesn't like the length, the salary, or the bonus. Sign for 3 seasons. We'll give him... just offer $1 million. And we'll give him a $15,000 bonus. He's good with the seasons, he likes the salary, he still doesn't like the bonus, and he's not thrilled with the threshold. He did accept the contract. It cost $400K to kick him out of his current team, sign him, as well as breaking Mick's contract. So now we have to develop a driver we can really develop. So we don't want to go too ham at this point. We don't have a lot of money. And we basically never will. But we do need to start looking at parts development. The first and most important thing to develop is the underfloor. We got 6.9 hours remaining in that. We got 92 hours remaining in that. So let's just do some quick math, because we can do usually about... Well, we're only going to get about 2 main parts done, so let's just split that for the most part. Go a little less than half of our total hours in each category. It's the most important, singular most important part for us, and for any developing team. Design focus, we want to maximize downforce. And we want to put as many designers on it as we can. It's still going to take 65 days for this one to come out. So looking at this. This increases the cost like crazy. So we can't maximize this kind of the cost. Well, let's see. 1 mil for this part is crazy. Hopefully we can win some money. And the front wing would be the next most important thing. Same thing, downforce is the most crucial aspect. We'll put our remaining engineers on it. We can only do 2 projects at once anyways. So. But these 2 things will make our car significantly better. There's really nothing else for us to do right now. So introducing our staff, welcoming our new driver, and season kickoff. It's only 10K, and it improves morale, which is good. All right, so if we look in our emails, we're going to see some Bahrain testing results. So out of 20 cars on the grid, the car 1 performance after testing is 13th, 13th, 9th, 11th, 15th, 13th, and 11th. 9th, 11th, 15th, 11th, and 9th on all of the comparisons. So these will get a lot better when those 2 parts come through, but it's going to take some time. So now we got to look at race prep ahead of the race. So we know we got the Bahrain International Circuit's always race 1 in the season, kickstarts every F1 season. And some information about the overall race down here. First ran in 4, 57 laps, it's 5.4 kilometers long. Race distance is 308.2 kilometers. We said 57 laps. Pedro de la Rosa set the lap record there of 131.4 back in 2005. These are the tires that we can bring. We got soft, mediums, and hards. These are the quantities we're allowed to bring for the whole weekend. What's up, Joshua? Yeah, well, now that I'm settled a little bit, I wanted to get back into some streaming. Wanted to take advantage of some earlier hours too to get other time zones able to join in just in case. I'm probably going to do it most days of the week, to be honest with you. And then we got some weather forecast here. It is in the middle of the desert, so dry and hot, essentially. But yeah, we're going to probably do every day of the week at this point. On this Friday and Saturday are the only days of my schedule. I don't have anything posted right now. Got a couple days off. The headphones are looking sick. The wireless means I'm not going to accidentally knock it out or trip over myself. Maybe I'll work on some customization once I get a couple extra dollars back in the bank account. But they are nice. They are nice. Very happy with them. So I was looking at like one of the Logitech G's. I thought they also looked really nice. They're really nice headphones from everything I could tell. The more I was doing research, I was splitting hairs on it. There was no convenient way to connect them to my PlayStation. So if I did want to play with Liam or something, I couldn't do that. I have a few friends that play PlayStation, and like we've been playing like Spider Hack and a few other co-op games, and there's no convenient way for me to connect to audio on my PlayStation because I'd never had a headset for that. So instead of going for like a really nice headphones from a PC and like a cheaper headset for the PlayStation, this with a little headphone adapter cable can just go in my PlayStation controller. So yeah, I decided to pay like 30 extra bucks for this or whatever it was compared to that. So we're looking at race preparation, like I was saying. The last thing, and you have to do it every weekend, is performance targets. You got targets based on from your sponsors on where you would qualify, where you would finish the race, and a couple of hot streaks. So starting left to right, we want to see, do we think we're going to reach Q2, reach Q3, be one of the top 10 cars? Statistically speaking, no, because you saw the car performance measurements earlier. So I think I'll risk the 20K for the 50K boost on trying to reach Q2. We're not going to shoot it for 3. I'm not going to take the chance on fastest lap because there's no way we're doing that. It'd be incredibly unlikely, let me say. Finish position streak. Do I think that for 4 weeks in a row I could finish at least 14th? Well, that is the lofty target I set for Piastri to do, so I think it would only cost me 200K, but I could potentially win almost $1 million. So if I were to hit all of these, I would make 1.4 million, but I could potentially lose 200K, so that's a pretty good gamble. But you have to pick targets for the weekend every week. So again, you get your home screen here. This is little information. Again, board confidence is medium. Our season objective is 6th or above. Long-term objective is to be a contender for the podium. Currently, we're ranked 10th, which is dead last. We haven't started the season, though. That's just a reflection of where they finished before. Got our 2 drivers, and their pages are accessible by clicking. Next race information down here. Standings at a glance here. And kind of a calendar, at a widget type calendar here, right? Detailed pages for all these things are on the bottom. Inbox, where you get important messages, the actual calendar of when things are, a list of all the circuits and some of the information about them, and then more details when you actually click on it, of course. Again, next race information on the race tab. Cars, that's where you go to look at which parts are fitted. The status of the engine, the electric system, the gearbox, those all have to be changed. You only get so many of them in a season. How your car compares to the average or a specific car. And then where you would come in to develop new parts or build new parts. And then your warehouse just shows what you have in stock. Again, information on your drivers, your 2 actual drivers and your reserve, as well as where you could go scout up and coming drivers. I'm gonna scout the guy that I usually go with. Yeah. Do a detailed scouting on him, but it'll take 30 days. Next one's the staff. You can come in here, see their ratings on different things. They earn points just like the drivers do, so you can upgrade them. And the longer that a engineer spends with their respective driver, the better their pairing will be. These are 2 new drivers to the team, essentially, so those are going to be pretty low for now. We've maxed out our engineering team size, our scouting team size. And our pit crew, we're going to focus on tire changes so we can get better at that, because that is our weakest area. It's also what costs you the most amount of time when you do a pit stop. Facilities, there's three different categories. Car development, which is arguably the most important, but definitely the most expensive. Design center is one of the most important things you want to build right out the gate, so you can do more projects at once. Which is, like I said, just straight up important. The other ones, test center, suspension, CFD, and wind tunnel, they will all increase the performance on the parts that you develop. And the factory allows you to manufacture more things at once, which isn't necessarily as critical as designing. Staff facilities, they will help you get boosts to morale, experience. Scouting department, obviously, increases the capacity for the number of scouts we have. But you do want to build things like the race simulator when you have more money, because of weekly experience gain, and then it just keeps stacking from there for the drivers or for the team, increasing the morale of the staff and drivers and increasing the experience gain of the staff as well. Plus, it makes your team more attractive to prospective drivers and stuff. And then operations, facilities, boardroom helps increase their confidence in you. Hospitality makes your team more attractive, gets better sponsors, more likely to hire better people. Weather center helps prediction of weather for the races, which helps your strategy. Helipad, again, just earns you more money from sponsors. Memorabilia room, same thing. Team attractiveness and morale. And the tour center is just a revenue stream. It's actually pretty cheap to build. I think we're just going to go ahead and build that. We spent a lot of money, and I don't know if we're going to be profitable, which is like the number one thing we need to do. But I have a good plan. Like, I know how to play this game at this point. I can kind of game the system. It's one of the common issues that people bitch about with this game, is that, like, once you kind of figured out the patterns and which things are most important, you just kind of loop those. And you just succeed. But it's always harder to start with a bad team like this, and especially a team that doesn't have a lot of money. And mine have spent too much too fast going for that design center, but it is an absolute necessity if our car is going to get better. So, to recap, started a season, hired a new driver. Hey, Bex, how are you today? Hired a new driver with our shitty team, built a new facility that'll help us research better parts to make us more competitive, and we started researching 2 parts. Darn, Ed. Yep, that'll happen. Hey! Josh coming through with the big-time gifting. Trying to take over the leaderboards again. Big simp energy, buddy. Love it. Love that for you. Okay, so we've got our parts being developed. They're going to take some time, but once we get them designed, we can start building them. All right, well, we'll see you in a bit, Josh. Have fun at the bank. Make sure you call ahead. All right, so the only thing now is we have a race weekend, and this is the other side of the game, right? Business management. Looking long-term, hiring drivers, training them, building the car. But then you got the actual race.
Bahrain might have a small land footprint, but it's showing its big spirit right now in the grandstands. Either way, it's time for another
So skip right into it. We don't need the intro. So basically, for those of you who aren't familiar with an F1 weekend, it's called the Grand Prix. It encompasses the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But for the sake of this game, it's just these 3 things. It's a little more convoluted in real life now. They introduced a couple new elements. But Friday, you have 2 what they call practice sessions. It's a certain amount of time. You're allowed to just send your car out on track, try different setups, see what works, what doesn't, get a lot of data to come up with a strategy for the race and for qualifying. Saturday has the final practice session, and then there's a qualifying session. Who can do the fastest lap possible? That determines the order for the race on Sunday. Qualifying is split into 3 parts. All 20 drivers go out. In qualifying 1, the bottom 5 get knocked out. The next 15 go out again in qualifying 2. The bottom 5 get knocked up. And then the top 10 runners compete one more time in qualifying 3 to determine the order of their positions. That determines the order for all 20 drivers for the race on Sunday, which is the final day. We have targets from our sponsors that'll help us make some extra money on the weekend. And then you have some information about the circuit, and then you have some reports once you get through practices and things like that. Now, when you get into it, your preparation for practice, you can choose to swap out your driver for your reserve, and you always want to do this. Again, kind of gaming the system. Statistically speaking, both drivers, the reserve and the one we just swapped out, are still going to gain experience for the weekend, but the reserve, being a reserve driver, he needs the experience to gain he needs time on the track to gain experience points to develop. You usually have them as fast developing people, so you want to put them out. And then the other thing you want to determine is what tires you want to send them out with, what parts are on the car, how many laps. Like, that's all high detailed stuff. I don't micromanage the racing. That's just my personal strategy. Some people will run them in real time and make like impromptu decisions, real-time decisions based on who they're racing, how they want them to perform, things like that. I just like the big picture element of running the business. So what I do is I do still go into setup, because the better you're set up, the better your car performs. So we're going to just dink around with these a little bit till we find a position. There's a little hack I use. My theory is, in real life, these tracks barely ever change. Racers go there year after year. Teams go there year after year. You know the data. So after the first, 30 hours of me playing this game and dicking around with setups, I did find a chart that I now use to kind of base the performance off of. And we're going to kind of stick to that. I know, it's a little bit of a cheat, but again, because the thing is, when you go from season to season in this game, your setups from last time don't get saved. But you would know that information in real life, and you would be able to start off with that information in hand. So my theory is, I've already done those things, so I have that information in hand. So we're going to make both cars on this quote-unquote ideal setup, which will just make them, again, slightly more competitive. It will not tip the scales to like an instant win or anything like that. Like I said, our team is trash. We're starting from the bottom and building something up. So we're going to run practice sessions. Again, I don't micromanage, so what I do is I just simulate right through the 3 practice sessions, let them gather their data, and go right to qualifying, which I typically skip to. It's just a big waste of time after you've done it. Like, when you first pick up the game, it's cool to check it out and to understand all the mechanics, but when you're already and you play a lot of hours in this game, it doesn't make sense to do it all over and over again. So you can see the result from the final practice session. You skip through that. So again, there's 20 drivers organized by the fastest lap they put in. So we got 12th position and 14th position, which is actually right where we need to be. If we can continue that pace into the race, we'll be right where we need to be to make some money from our sponsors, because we're not supposed to, but this is where we're supposed to be. And you can see literally 1.5 seconds off the fastest lap. You can multiply that by 50 some odd laps or whatever they're doing this weekend. You can understand how far behind these drivers will be. That's the difference in performance between the great cars and ours. So we'll go on and continue. You can see he had all 3 practice sessions. We switched the other guy out, Magnussen, for the reserve driver. That only happens in practice 1. So he only has a track acclimatization of 87%, which doesn't really matter for all intents and purposes. He has the full 100. The car is brand new to us, first race of the season, so they both accumulated some parts knowledge. And the setup that we gave them a confidence in 97 and 98, which means they got a pretty good performance, which is what we want. Now we go into the qualifying section. And same thing, we're not going to dick around. Soft tires are the fastest. You don't change those. You can't change the setup at this point. Well, you could. There's no point. Once you change it here, though, you can't change it again before the race. And they want to do 1 flying lap, which is just, again, as fast as humanly possible. Just doing it as fast as possible. Again, we're not going to perform very great. There's no point in micromanaging these for the most part. So I just typically go right to the race. Again, it'll knock out the bottom 5, and then the top 10 order determined in qualifying 3. So as you can see, we did not make it into qualifying 3. We were not part of the top 10, but as expected, we did make it to qualifying 2. And we got both our drivers in the top 15. As a matter of fact, they said 12 and 13, which is fantastic for how crappy this car is. So now we'll continue. We have our order for the race.
The time has come to fight it out. It's race day.
And now we're going into Sunday, which is race day. It's the only thing we do today. And the race we do go into. We don't just play.
Alfa Romeo managed to meet expectations during qualifying.
So we'll skip past this. It's really cool, but again, hundreds some odd hours into the league. Let's see it. And for those of you who don't follow F1, it's not really that exciting for you either. So again, we're on race day. See the results, all the practice sessions, and the qualifying. Again, you can see the order that will be in here. So we did meet our qualifying position and our personal targets. So we did win some money. Race targets, we're not ideally, we're not starting fastest lap. That's stupid about that. Would be stupid for us to try and pick. We're not the fastest car. But finish position, again, this is what we're aiming for, 12th position. We stand to make a couple $100K on that if we do. And then for the hot streak targets, again, this is a week-to-week target, continual performance target. And as you can imagine, it pays a little bit more money. So 2 races in a row, we want to qualify at least 14th. We did it this week, which means we got to do it again next week. Finish position streak, we don't know that yet. But we also want to finish above 14th. If we do that for 4 weeks in a row, we make about 800K. And then reports, you can see here we have some information in the circuit, which we've talked about, post-practice reports, how it is setting up the car for the race and the drivers. And then you got the pre-race reports, their positions, and their best lap state. So starting the race, we can see we got our 2 drivers, we got 2 strategies. We'll talk about that in a hot second. Compounds, what tires they're starting on, that's determined by strategy, which again we'll pick in a second. We cannot change anything on the car anymore. It's just the rules of racing. But we do have a great confidence in our setup. We're fueled for 57 laps. The race is 57 laps. We'll probably need to be a little bit careful about fuel management at some point during the race, because that's the exact amount we need. And again, if a driver is driving incredibly aggressively, he's going to churn through more gas. And then driver options, I can choose how fast I want them to go, how much fuel I want them to burn, things like that. It's easier to modify those things in real time racing, but you could start them out of the gate real hot if you wanted them to have a hot start and be very competitive right out of the gate. So the biggest thing for us in any race is strategy. Bahrain is what is known as a 2-stopper, meaning we will have to pit twice to change tires. And you always have to use 2 different sets of tires. It's just an F1 rule. So if you look here, the computer's generated 3 strategies for us. We're free to make a new one if we want to, or to tweak these if we want to. Option A, you can see on the right, estimated race time. So you got 1 hour, 33 minutes, 57 seconds, 1:34:13, 1:34:11. So this is estimated to be the fastest. That is quite the stretch. You can see here, this is anything below this line, the tires basically perform like absolute shit. And every single end of these stints, as they call them, these tires would be shot. So if we wanted to play a little bit safer, but be slightly slower, we could opt for a longer lasting tire in the middle. And we can dial this in a little bit. We can pit a little bit later here. Yeah, that was right. But we can pit a little bit earlier here. Or we could use a mix of the 3 compounds. Soft, medium, hard. Estimated to be the medium speed of all those strategies, but if you look, it gives us the best chance to actually have these tires go to a respectable length, but without being so shot that we'd be slow as fuck. So we're going to update strategy C, and we're going to use that. And we'll do the same thing for our other driver. We'll just end up pitting them at slightly different times, and there's a 100% chance in the race report that there will be what they call a safety car, meaning somebody will crash or something bad will happen, and the race will have a safety car come out. It gives you a cheap pit stop. A lot less time gets taken off of your total. So you can also keep your fingers crossed, and it's something they do in real life and as well in F1. Is to hope for that and kind of plan for that happening and try to use your tires as long as possible so you can get a free stop. We'll see what happens. There's literally no way to know. But we've got their strategy picked out. All the other things are determined. You see their starting positions at the bottom. The only thing left to do, race.
It looks like clear skies tonight, with the drivers now in their grid positions. Looking at the Haas, they'll be starting the race from the bottom half of the grid, so there's a fair bit of ground to make up.
Yes.
Then we have Kevin Magnussen.
Yes, there is.
Slower than most yesterday, so today they'll be starting from the bottom half of the grid. The race start is mere seconds away.
All right,
Here
so
we
this
go
is going to start
with the Bahrain Grand Prix.
here. Just like that.
It's lights out, and away we go.
So now I can give you guys a little bit of primer on what you're seeing here. It's a lot for me, and like there is pretty much any instrument game or sport game for that matter. Obviously here, this is the time chart and the order in which everybody's in. At this second, it hasn't really changed from the starting order. Once it's going for a few microseconds longer, we'll have from far. The cars of each other. The internet shows you that Sergio Perez is 0.6 seconds behind Charles Leclerc first, whereas Verstappen 0.4 seconds behind Perez. As you get to the leader, you go to the right, and you can see he's a full second behind the leader. This is everybody's tires. You can see some of us with brand new, but some people use tires that they had already done a couple of some blue from all. Because they've done, and then when they're in up, there's a sector chart basically red if you're slower than your fastest lap, green if you were faster than your own fastest lap, and purple if you were the fastest of everybody. So we're all going to have greens, and one person will have purple for sector one. You can't really see it, but there's three shown. Racetrack has three sectors you go through. And I'm done on every sector. There's enough micromanagement to F1 and in any racing. Last time in the new table, this is like this is everything that's going. Race view again in real time, temperature, what the wind will be like in 4 minutes, 25% chance it's slightly cloudy. Drag formation, there's not a lot of rubber laid down, it's still a fresh track. After you've done like 40-50 laps, a lot of rubber that gets worn in. And they see kind of go into you got the whole track here, especially when you're in this game view. You've got the strategy view for both your drivers here, and information car performance and player performance, and then track information as well. On this little bar up here, and you've got timing, this little me chart, the graph chart, detailed on the maps, drive story, all that kind of stuff. All accessible, even one. You mentioned there's different level of speed. Right out here, 1 time, there's 2 times, 4 times, 8 times, and 16. You'll notice that at 1 and 2 speed, the camera changes automatically, typically, to be this. If you want to watch the race, that's automatic, like you're watching something. This is being whether you're at 1 or 2 speed. Anything above 4, you cannot see it. 4 or above, you cannot see it in that view. You will get this track view that just shows everything. This is my preferred personally experience. This is the way that I like to do it. Again, I don't like to be over micromanaging. I will change some information. We'll talk about that in a second. I like to just throw them out there, let them do their thing, give them some basic instructions, and trust my drivers to drive, right? Excuse me. So I usually run between 4 and 8 speed, not the full 16, although sometimes when there's really nothing to do, I'll let them go with max speed. So then down here, you got information for each drivers. You got 3 categories they measure in the main tab. Pace, which is how aggressive they're being, which chews through tires faster. So this is basically a tire control. There's an attack, which wears it away the fastest, all the way down to a conserve, which wears it away the least, but your times will suffer or your wear will suffer. Standard is just driving around track, getting it done. Just a normal lap. Fuel tab, same thing. You can push and burn a little extra fuel. Always putting hard throttle, never feathering, things like that. Or conserving, letting off the gas a little before turns, then braking, etc. It's trying to save some of that fuel to get through the race, which it then does affect your time, as you can imagine. And then ERS is an electronic, like, turbo system, essentially, in the cars. There's 3 deployment modes. Deploy, which is just burn through it. It's basically like holding down a turbo button in another race game, or using NOS, if you wanted to think about it that way. It's just an electronic battery system. It's a hybrid engine in these cars, after all. There's a defend mode, which helps you hold the guy behind you a little bit better. You use it selectively. It does take some of the energy out of this battery, though. Same thing with overtaking. And then there's a harvest mode to try and bring it back in. And then neutral, which basically doesn't use any over the course of a lap. You'll see it go up and down and up and down. But by the end of a lap, the battery level remains the same. So this is something you do help control. And for the people who like to play the game down here, with gamer mode or one of these like onboard modes, pretending they're the driver. That's the way to do it. Again, I'm thinking management. I can tell them some basic instructions, but I think big picture, right? And you have the same set of instructions for the other driver. They could be doing 2 very different things depending on where they're at in their strategies. One may be on a completely different tire. One may be qualified way ahead of the other one. They could have different approaches. The second tab you see here is just the car condition. Is anything damaged? Are the wheels too hot, too cold? You can really control and give some instructions there too to help maintain the car. This next one is related to pit information, or pit window, which is the general time frame. Well, pit opens in 11 laps. Or we're expected to go from the soft tire to the hardest, the fastest to the slowest, but also the least durable to the most durable. Then the bottom instruction, again, just gives information on where they're at. Do they have DRS, which is technically, it's just something that if you're within a second of the car in front of you, opens up the little wing on the back, and you go a little faster. But you can also give your driver commands. Again, I have 2 drivers that are right next to each other. If I don't want them to accidentally crash into each other or race each other, I can give instructions. Usually, in real life, you would wait until the end of the season to start micromanaging your team to that level because, and that's just in real life, too. If there's no clear winner or loser on the team, if there's no driver who's way higher up the leaderboards, there's no point in telling the other guy to fight him or potentially risk his race. Right? We just want to go out in the first few races and see what we have. Am I winning, son? No, I'm just starting the race. We're 12th and 13th. The expected position for us is 14th, so we are right where we want to be to make some money this weekend. And if we can start making some money back, stay in the green, get those parts we're developing, we'll get increased performance, which will lead to more money, and you can understand where this is going. What I was explaining, Josh, is that we're not going to micromanage the race. I'm not going to play it at 1 speed and sit in the cockpit view and give him specific instructions on how to drive the car. A lot of people do that when you watch them on Twitch or just playing the game generally. I prefer big picture. I like to run at 4 or 8 times speed, look at the big view, look at the chart on the left, see where they're at, and make decisions from there on the micromanagement of their car, but more in the terms of overall strategy, not per lap, per turn, which you can do. If you look at some guides for controlling races to really maximize performance, min-maxing type thing, there's guides to change this setting, this setting, this setting on the straightaways, this setting, this setting, this setting on the turns, this setting, this setting, this setting when you're close to a guy, this setting, this setting, this setting when you're alone. It gets really deep. I don't like to do that. I just like to kind of watch the race unfold, make big picture strategy decisions, deal with changing things like accidents on track, safety car coming out, rain coming down. This is a full-blown race manager. It's all very simple stuff if you follow racing the way that I like to do it. If you don't, yes, there's a lot to it, and it's kind of uninteresting. Erica was giving me that look like, you sure this is what you want to play? And I'm like, yes, because I want to get back into playing what I want to play. But that's neither here nor there. So yeah, like I said, we're going to run this race, and we're just going to let it run for the first few laps, especially where there's less likely something to happen. I'm going to run it at 8 speed, and I'm just going to watch it unfold. I'm going to look at my drivers staying in 12th and 13th. And again, we're on interval, so what we're looking at is how far away we are from the car above them. We are 0.3 of a second away from the car in front, which is Esteban Ocon and Alpine, or as Americans would say, Alpine. And our drivers are 0.4 seconds away from each other. If we're looking at how far away we already are from the race leader, aka the fastest cars, because they are not the same in F1, we are already almost 6 seconds away from the leader. So you can see that, again, our performance just isn't there. So relegating ourselves to aiming for just below 10th, above 15th, somewhere between 10 and 15, is our expected position based on how shitty our car is. And again, as we unlock more buildings and research more parts with those buildings, we will get better, we will get faster, and within a season or two, we could possibly start winning some damn races. And that's the long-term goal. But the idea is just fun to take a shitty team, right, and build something out of it. For a lot of people, that's the way you play simulators and management games, right? In F1, yes, have a lot of money, build good car with that money, dominate the competition. You're seeing it in real life right now. These two cars right here, Max Verstappen, who is about to be the 3-time champion back-to-back-to-back in real life. Him and Sergio Perez, who's my personal favorite driver, who in real life sucks right now. And we can just be honest about that. He's trash right now. But they have the best car, undoubtedly. In the game, it's not as different between them and Ferrari because that's how it was in real life last year. It's a little bit different now. They're dominating, and it's because they have the best car, right? You also need a good driver. And that's what we're trying to do with this team, this Haas team from America. These are our two drivers here. We want them to perform to a certain level so we can make money. And if we consistently do that, we can take that money to build better things. And if you min-max the game to a degree, if you game the system, this F1 manager, you can start making money pretty rapidly and getting results pretty rapidly. I bet I could beat Vern in a Prius. Well, you know, the fun thing is F1 is a media experience. It's a marketing tool for a lot of these companies as well. So they do shit like that. They will literally put them in like Honda Civics and have them compete against each other or other drivers. There's some fun shit that goes down, you know. The F1 community and the F1 world is pretty cool. It can also be toxic as fuck. And you're seeing that right now. Like I said, my guy, Sergio Perez, not doing a great job. Anytime I open up a post on Instagram or Reddit or Twitter, God forbid Twitter, he's just getting shit on by the community. And it's hard not to be that guy and just try to defend him or like talk shit back. But like, it's just such a toxic community at times. So what you see is some shit went down, right? And it looks like it was between teams. We'll probably have a replay pop up here in a second or two. But you got a little red icon on Verstappen here, which means he's got a penalty. You'll notice that his teammate, Sergio Perez, all the way down here now. They were 1 and 2, now they're 3 and 16. One of them made a mistake, presumably Verstappen, because he's got a penalty, and it fucked the other driver. Yeah, and you'll see it. This is like real life in some ways.
I think there's been contact
yeah,
on the
so
track.
crash involving
Here's the
multiple cars. Now, I will tell you,
Just watching the
sometimes the
Red Bull.
crashes look stupid because it's not a real race. They're just it's just an RNG, random number generator.
And
But
that's
yes,
a big
and this is the
smash.
last thing you want to have
Never
happen in
felt
real
that.
life. You literally never want your two teammates to hit each other. It is the dumbest fucking thing that can happen. And it makes your team look so incompetent. But now he's got a penalty, they probably both have damage, and Perez's race is probably ruined. A big fat L, yes. And see, Max Verstappen already has to pit his car. He's going to be in the pit lane for a while because he presumably has to change the front wing on his car. Like I said, it's kind of cool, and anything can happen. So now, with his pit stop and the other guy falling behind, the guy that was in 12th is now in 10th. And the big thing for 10 is you actually get a point. Only the top 10 racers get a point for the championship. We weren't even dreaming of a point when this race started. Now, theoretically, it's a possibility, still not very likely, and you'll see things even out after a minute or two. So you see a little yellow icon appear on this gear here, this wrench. My pit window opens in a lap. As they cross the line, I'm now in my pit window. Sometime in the next few laps, I should pit my car according to the strategy that I picked out ahead of time. So, yeah, and that's the whole thing, right? So now what I do is we get a little bit slower. We'll go down to 4 times. We're in the pit window, like I said. We follow the guy who's a little bit further ahead in his plan. Have fun, bud. And when we get to the next lap, which will be the lap before we pit, I will up the amount of damage we do to our tires, which ups our speed. And on the lap that we actually pit, you want them to go as fast as humanly possible to minimize the hurt that stopping and putting fresh tires on makes in your time. So he's rounding this corner here, as you can see. I'm going to put his tire up 1 level. And on the next lap, he will go a little bit quicker. Maybe not enough to do anything or pass anybody, but his time will improve slightly. And as he comes to this back straightaway and goes into the next lap, which is the one he's supposed to pit on, you can see right here in the green, we'll bump up all of his settings. We'll put him on the attack. So max tire usage, push on the fuel, deploy the battery turbo. Put him as fast as possible because he is going to pit on this lap for the hard tires, and it's going to cost him time.
So we'll box now, box.
Box is the instruction for pit. And then as you can see, he's 1 lap shy. So just as we did with the other driver, bump his tire usage up. So this is where I get into my little micromanagement. Everybody in these games has their system. This is just the way I do mine. Very simple. Not micromanaging, not watching every lap, not commanding them on every turn. And you could see, because he was burning through tires, fuel, battery, he just straight up made up 2 places. And other people have pitted, and that changes. You'll see him drop down because he's pitting. Magnussen coming around the bend himself, max out all his usage. And it's his time to pit. So he gets the command, time slows down.
Box.
Copy, box.
And you can see that these strategies, like in real life, they're pretty similar between a lot of the teams. A lot of people will all stop at once within the same lap or 2. So now, same thing. When you get out of the pit, you want your tires to heat back up. You want to go competitively quick, again, to minimize the loss of time. So I leave them on full blast for 1 more lap out of the gate.
Oh, we've had a spin.
Magnussen comes in for his. He's going to come out in a pretty good position. So Piastri has done his out lap. The lap after the pit stop will bring him down to standard usage, balanced fuel, and we want to make back up some of that battery, so I'm going to put him on harvest mode. Magnussen, again, leaving his stop. He's going to stay on full blast for the time being. Take advantage of the fact that he's running in a pretty high position, even after doing a pit stop. We want him to go quick, separate from the competition, close in on the guy in front of him. Minimize the impact of that. So again, after he gets through this lap, goes to the straightaway, maybe passes the other guy. We'll put him on standard tire, balanced fuel, and regain some of that battery. Now Piastri, I'm going to put him on about a half a lap of fuel conservation, and he's still on battery conservation. He gets through that half lap, so right about here, put him back on, so he's got some more juice for later to do the same thing, because we have one more pit stop. And Magnussen coming around the bend, we're going to do the same thing. Half a lap of fuel and battery conservation. And then we'll put the speed back up and let the race unfold for a
Red
little
Bull
while.
gained a place.
Because there's nothing happening for about 15 more laps.
Is that a new race position for Haas?
So now, because of the fuckery of pit stop timing, performance, and differences in the cars, those two guys getting into an incident with each other, we have a driver now running in fourth. He will not stay there, I promise you. But things can happen.
And McLaren with a great
The guy who
overtake.
stopped one lap earlier than his teammate is in 16th. The guy who stopped one lap later is running in the top 5.
Alfa Romeo
And that's
just
some real
moved
life
up
shit
a
too.
place.
1 lap difference in pit stop can make that difference. But we're up there with some very fast cars. And we're going to fall back down the field. It's going to happen. I'm not going to cry about it. It's just what's going down. But we're in the heart of the
Haas
race
with an
now.
overtake there.
If you look at our strategy, you can see meat and potatoes. We're on the longer lasting tire, right in the middle of our strategy.
McLaren gain a position.
And this is the part where you just kind of watch and you react to any major changes in the
Is that a
battlefield.
lock up on the track?
Again, I could try to micromanage them on every single lap of this. It just doesn't make sense in my head to do that. And we're
Sounds
keeping
like
ourselves
someone's locked up.
competitive, and hopefully we can stay there. Piastri's worked his way up past 14th as well, regaining some
Haas
positions,
with an overtake.
running where he should be running. He's a little out of position, but in a good way for us. But you can see he's losing time to the car behind him. He's going a little slower, generally. That difference is going down. He's likely to get passed by him at some point. The longer it takes, the better for us. And we want to stay within a second of the guy in front of us, because we'll be pulled along a little faster that way.
Someone's run wide.
Math, what's up? Appreciate the follow. Welcome. Spotlight. So we're just cruising, and you can see the way they're driving naturally is actually saving some fuel, which is great because it gives us more of an opportunity to attack when the time comes. And like I said, if you're just tuning in, you may look a little silly. We got a driver in 5th position. We got a driver in 13th. And I'm happy as shit because they should really be both about 13th. But you never know what's going to happen in these races. I've been saying it this whole time. Some nonsense happened between a couple cars on track, and we take advantage. Strategy, big picture. Like I said, that's the focus for me. I don't like that, like I said, micromanage every turn, all that constant. It's just not, for me, it's not it. But a lot of people like doing it like it's a real race, watching it at basically normal or slightly faster speed and making decisions on like a turn-by-turn basis. Like I said, just not what I like to do. So again, we're back in the pit window for the second pit stops. So we're going to keep a closer eye on Magnussen, especially over the next few laps. Piastri, as you can see here, this window's coming up too. So we are going to slow it down to 4 speed. Take a little more manual control in just another lap. But yeah, man, it's like the reason you gotta love it in real life, right? Like there's a lot of boring moments to racing, sure. But some of it's just big brain shit, knowing like literally when to push, when to slow down, when to rest those tires, how to attack when situations change on track. It's all it all impacts things, and you can have someone like Magnussen with a fucking incredible result
McLaren with a
just
great
taking advantage
overtake.
of the situation. So like I said, one lap before his pit window, firing up the tires, putting him on a little bit more aggressive speed, getting him back within striking distance of these. Once he gets around this bend, he gets on a huge straightaway, put him on full-blown attack as he heads into his pit lap. So it's what we call an in lap. It's the lap that he comes in on. He loses a ton of time because slowing down in the pit lane, changing tires, all that. So you want to minimize that by going as fast as seemingly possible on that lap. Then we're going to put him on, per our strategy, the medium tire. At the same time, we want to keep an eye on Piastri. He's coming up on his penultimate lap on that tire. So we want him, again, just like we did with Magnussen, upping that speed for that lap, getting those tires in better position to attack.
Haas with an overtake there.
He made a mistake. He spun or something, went wide, lost 3 positions. It happens. He fudged up. So we got Magnussen coming in
Looks
for
like
his.
there's been a lockup.
He'll drop down some positions, of course. Now we got Piastri around in the final bend. Just going to put him in full-blown attack mode as well, because he will be pitting this lap. And again, you can see the positions are going to be very different between these guys. One person going a lap earlier than the other wildly impacts things. And we saw it earlier in the race. Alright, so we set him up. He's on his in lap, max speed. Magnussen just got out of the pits. We're doing an out lap again. Going aggressive on speed. And we'll kind of recover a little bit after this.
Haas with an overtake.
So we got him finishing his out lap. We'll lower this down a notch, but still stay aggressive. We're going to leave him on extra fuel usage because we have it. But we will put him on harvest the battery for a second. And Piastri just came out of his stop. So we're going to do an out lap full speed. Magnussen. Take him off the tire aggressiveness. Take him off harvesting the battery. And through this last 2 straightaways, we'll keep the speed up. Fuel, and then we'll knock it down. Piastri coming around his out lap. Ease up on some of these settings like we just did with Magnussen. Now he's running on normal again. We're going to let him race. Piastri will watch him for another lap. Harvesting some battery. But still pushing fuel. And still slightly pushing tires. Piastri, regular tires, no more battery. On that last straightaway, keep the fuel usage up and then knock it down. So we're going to put the speed back up. Oh, Norris fucked up. He dropped down heavy, which puts us in a good position to stay up in the points. We're going to earn some points, hopefully, this race, as long as we don't fuck up. But by keeping them on default racing settings and not pushing too hard, we keep ourselves in good position for that. So we got the increased speed. You can see we got 14 laps left. We're in a great position. We got a driver in our expected position. And then we got a driver way out of position. Just took advantage of pitting at the right time earlier. So now we can double check on the driver who's in the thick of it down in 14th. If he can get up within a second to the other driver, we can push, but he's not fast enough to do that. And I don't want to risk his race by having him push and crashing or something. So we're just going to let him do it. Our tires are not too hot or anything like that.
Seems to have been a lockup.
Magnussen locked up. Lost himself some time on shitty braking.
And yes, that's
just slows you down. He goes a little wide. The guy behind him catches up. So now you can see he's only 1.3 seconds ahead of the guy behind him. And it's
sounds like someone's locked up.
Falling. Get a little extra fuel. Tires are on track, so we don't want to mess with those too much, but we could push them. Put defend mode on. Try and keep the guy behind him a little bit for a lap or two.
Lock up on the track.
And just make sure the guy doesn't get close enough to strike. Piastri did get closer. So we can put him on the attack for a little bit too. Again, just want to keep the speed relatively slow and not necessarily overdo it. Yeah, Magnussen was always going to have a hard time keeping that position.
Red Bull moved up.
And Piastri fucked up. And you got a penalty too.
Sounds like we've had a spin.
Again, had him push. He lost the car. 5-second penalty. So he'll end up finishing still in 16th. The gap between him and the car behind is 15 seconds. So if Magnussen could stay behind Perez or possibly get ahead of him, we have a chance of finishing third. Let's put him on the podium, which is huge. We only got a handful of laps left. But we don't really have the tire life. Or the fuel left. We may be able to do this. Just gotta stay behind him. Stay with him a second. Keep DRS on him. Oof. This is tense.
Is that a lockup?
Okay. So we're on the last lap. So we're going to want to push. I think we just got to risk it.
Looks like there's been a lockup.
Like I said, it increases the likelihood that they make a mistake, and our car is not great. So they could spin or crash while we do this. We had the opportunity to go up there and get third fucking position when we were expecting like 14th. And we did it, guys. We did it. This is monumental. Like, this would be unheard of in real life.
Kevin Magnussen showing us how it's done. A great result.
Yes, celebrate. Enjoy. You did the damn thing, brother.
Imagine how chuffed they must be. A podium is a real feat. And
Still got up there on the podium, top three. Unbelievable. Great points for the team. Definite money. Big moment.
Well, the Dane had a very impressive race, really delivering when the pressure was on.
Oh, man. 10 positions gained, and the other guy lost 4. Tail of 2 drivers. But that, after one race, that makes us 3rd overall. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable race. Taking advantage of some chaos. Red Bulls crashing into each other. Gotta love that for us. So yeah, we'll look at the recaps at the end. They both earned experience points. Nobody gained an experience point to spend on upgrades, though, unfortunately. And then financially speaking, from sponsors, we made $3 million. We paid out $440,000 in bonuses to them because they both did what we wanted of them. 14th or higher, 6th or higher. So we made $2.6 million on this one race. Not bad, especially for a team with finances as tough as ours. And we're keeping that breathing room that we didn't have right before that race, as we invested in our facilities and our racers, etc. So look at the different parts on the cars: front wing, chassis, suspension, underfloor, rear wing, etc. And just make sure that the newest ones are installed on both cars. Sounds like we have a new suspension. Did we only make one? That's kind of silly. So we have a 2nd generation suspension, which means it's better than this one. It's marginal, but it's better. So we are going to want to build a couple more of those, which won't cost a ton of money. It'll take a little bit of time, though. Can't research anything until the next year's regulations are determined, and we can't design anything more because our design center is low, which is why we're building a new one, or upgrading it, I should say. Because then we can research more at a time, which means we can develop things faster, get better faster. And that's the long-term goal. So that was an email that we got telling us that one was built. We can put it on car 2 because right now that's our better driver. So we give him the better part. Which in real life would piss off the other guy, but... Post-race overview. It's just a little news blurb about what happened, kind of like an actual online post and article you would read about the race. We're exceeding expectations because of that result. And then post-race debrief just compares performance against different things. So, popping a look at our calendar here. Nothing is completed or done this week before the next race starts. There's really nothing I can afford to do or change in that time frame either, so we're just going to go ahead right to the next race weekend because there's nothing else I can do right now. So like I was saying before the last race, get a little bit of a preview, again, kind of just a news article. But importantly, we want to go to the race preparation screen. We have to pick our performance targets for this weekend. So again, circuit information, we're racing in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. It's only been racing there for a couple of years. It's a 50-lap race, 308.4 kilometers long. Again, Middle East, it's going to be dry and hot the whole time. So we don't really have to worry about weather being a factor. But if you really wanted the deep dive, expected strategies, expected performance, previous results, historic results, yada, 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 are all here for you. And again, it's just that element that it could be bigger and better, realistically, in a full-blown simulator, but you do have a lot of information and historical stuff to compare against. The important thing, and you have to do this before every race, we have to pick a performance target. What kind of weekend are we aiming to have here? Again, remember, we're driving what we would call a shitbox. In the F1 world, it's not a good car. So we don't want to go out there and think that we're going to be the fastest lap or qualifying in 5th. We want to be smart, but push ourselves. So again, are we going to reach Q3? No, we're probably not going to get that goal, but I can't change that one. That was determined by the sponsors. It's an incentive. So it's not going to lose us any money, but we probably won't earn anything extra for that. Qualifying position, do we think we can qualify in 12th? Well, we did it last race. Admittedly, it's a different track, but we could probably do it again. Q2, do I think we're going to be top 15, essentially? Yes, I do. So we are going to go for those. And this is kind of like a gamble you take. You could lose money, but it's negligible to the amount you make. So that's for qualifying. And then for the race itself, do I think we're going to have the fastest lap? No. So I'm not going to take a chance on it. And then, like I said, the next one, that's a streak. 1 out of 2 for qualifying above 14th. If we do it again this week, we make 262,000. And we do these 4 races above 14th, we're going to make 800K. So now we're set for the race. We're just going to go to the weekend. Like I was saying before the last one, I don't control everything. I don't do the practice sections or the qualifying. I put 100 hours in. I show you guys what it's like if you want to see it. I do that. It's personally, when I'm playing this game, I don't control them anymore. I know how they work. I've experienced those mechanics. I think it's cool as a fan to get hands on it, but I have no need to micromanage every weekend anymore. So as a recap for your reserve driver, the smartest thing to do every weekend is to swap them out for the reserve driver. They are in fact experience significantly faster than the regular drivers do. So it just makes sense to put them in there. It doesn't really negatively impact the driver they replace, and it only happens for the first of 3 practice sessions. Card setup, again, there's a guide I use because, again, and I think in real life, if you're a teenager, you have information on your setup from last year, what worked and what didn't. The game doesn't retain those, but I'd like to think that you would as a real human being, and with someone, especially with all. So I just use a little bit of chart. Not perfect. It gets you a good setup. There's like a little mini game that you typically do during the practice sessions, where you choose a setup to start. You go into the practice session. You do a handful of laps. The driver tells you that it's good or it sucks. And these little windows that you see here get smaller based on their feedback. The better drivers give you better feedback. You use that information to dial in the setup even more to get a better performing car. But of course, there is a game, a database, and there are right answers and wrong answers. Now you can play the mini game by doing the whole practice, or like I said, in real life, you would have that information on hand, and you would be able to go to the gate and do home. I like to stick to qualifying. I just think that's the way to go about it, personally. Because I don't need to worry about the steps. I have that information on
Welcome back to what
hand.
is proving to be an exciting weekend of Formula One action.
Alright, so you can see again, final practice results. We are 12th and 13th, which is basically exactly where we need to be for those performance targets, those incentives, things like that. So we'll continue. You can see that they have good track optimization. They now have better car parts knowledge, and they have a good confidence in the setup, meaning that they're getting a good performance bonus. And they'll do slightly better because of it. Qualifying, again, we're not going to run through it. Things tend to just go to the plan here. There's not too much difference here. So you can see we actually had one driver get into qualifying 3. So if we will get paid that incentive that we weren't expecting. He got into qualifying 3, which is top 10. He got 10th, but he got into the top 10 because this lap was an absolute blister lap. And his teammate, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, made it to Q2, but didn't get any further. So we got 10th and 14th first 3 positions for the race.
Tension continues to build here as race day begins.
Haas proved quite resourceful during qualifying. That puts them in a very good position to make the most of this race start.
Yeah. As you can see, we had all of our targets qualifying because of that. And we're going to make 311. Now we're just aiming to finish above 12th to get this payout, which is 235. And if we can stay above 14th, we won't necessarily get that payout. We will get this longer term performance result, which is a bigger payout, obviously. Alright, so now, like we were talking about last race, the biggest thing is we have to pick a strategy. So 3 proposed strategies. This one would finish in an hour 19:22, hour 19:23, hour 19:21. Subjectively, this is saying the fastest. But the reality of the situation is this plane would have you stop twice. Stopping twice adds another 20 to 30 seconds worth of time, minimally. So we're not going to take that risk. He's starting towards the back. So what he's going to want to do, in most cases, it's what they usually do with the driver who's further behind, send him out as long as possible for the first time. Hope for some type of crash, safety car race reset that gives us a chance to do this cheaper or change our strategy up. And then you kind of do the opposite strategy with your front runner. You have him come in a little bit quicker on an aggressive tire, and then do your longer stint at the end, again hoping for like a red flag or something to reset, put its faster tire on without losing any time. But you do usually want them to be on 2 different strategies. When they're right next to each other and you pick the same strategy, things get a little weird. When you saw last race, well, had the same strategy separated by only 1 lap hit time. The driver who went in a little bit earlier ended up significantly better positioned because of the way things shook out. So let's do it.
Cloudy skies tonight, with the drivers now having taken position on the grid. There we see Kevin Magnussen. Not as close to the front as they might have wished for, but we know the race order can change a lot during those first few corners. There's the other Haas. With their starting position in the back 10, they'll have their work cut out for them. The teams are ready to go. It's almost time for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Before it actually gets going.
And it's lights out, and away we go.
Another thing. So as always, I get myself up to 8 speed. We'll let them run on default settings and let your drivers do what your drivers do, right? And I keep my focus on the one who's usually running further up the order. They're the ones whose race you have to pay a little more attention to. Again, being in 10th position or above is the opportunity for you to earn a championship point or more, depending on how high you finish up. So everybody's aiming to finish in the top 10, if not win. So I got a guy who's running up there, and I want to keep my eye on him to do my best job as a leader, keeping him in that position. Earning points, earning respect for our team, earning more money for our team. All that goes hand in hand. If he falls too far behind, he won't have a chance to get back up,
That's a good
and we miss out.
overtake from Alpine.
And ideally, again, we want to be above 12th. So again, he'll stop first in 13 laps time. Well, a little over 13 laps time. And he's got about 21 laps. Now, sometimes I do like to throw it on the maximum time, like speed, rate of play, and just get through it. But again, anything could happen. Somebody can wreck, weather can change, depending on where you are in the world, of course. So you have to keep an eye on it. You have to be able to react a little bit quicker. He needs to stay within a second of the car in front of him. And he's risking it. The guy in front of him is on a faster tire, though, which is why it's harder for him to stay behind. But that means the guy in front of him will have to pit quicker. Probably soon, actually. Yeah, he's already 11% forward square than me. Which means as long as we can stay close to him, be in a good position strategy-wise.
Is that a new race position for Haas? I think there's been a lockup.
You know, like a lot of Americans, it's this fast-growing sport, right? We got into it recently. Highly recommend if you have any interest whatsoever in racing. There is a very exciting pseudo-documentary style show on Netflix called
An
Drive to
excellent move by
Survive,
Haas to
which is
gain
what
few
a lot of these
places.
sports documentaries have done in recent years, where they follow a team or an athlete around for an entire season, camera crews, interviews, all that. You get that deep dive, big picture look at a sport and how things operate. And it's a little dramatized, of course. Anyone who follows it regularly, like myself now, knows that some of the things are built up a little bit more or blown out of proportion a little bit more just to get people engaged. But it's grown the market here huge. We now have 3 races in the US where we only used to have 1. So it's a huge market for them right now. It's blowing up. We finally have an American driver back on, which is very exciting. And we already have an American team, like I said, the one I'm controlling now. But as we've talked about a billion times so far in this session,
Looks like that
they're
was a
not good.
position gained for Alfa Romeo.
So this is our chance to, in my head canon, make it a great team, right? And that's the long-term goal here. But it's exciting, you know. It's and it's cool too because they do most of their races overseas, Europe, Middle East, Asia, you know. So like it's cool. It happens early in the day, so it doesn't take up your whole weekend or your whole day. You know, the race typically on a Sunday morning. Wake up, get it. You know, my routine for a couple of years now was wake up, make a big ass breakfast, usually a breakfast burrito. Pour some coffee, sit down, food, coffee early in the day, not usually bothering anyone else in the household. Put on the race, just have a nice start to the day. Once it gets later in the F1 season, it's right about the time football starts, especially American football. So especially for us American fans, it's kind of really cool because it turns into a whole sports day where you sit down with your cup of coffee and your breakfast, do that. By the time that's done, you're heading towards kickoff for the 1 o'clock games, and it's cool, especially because of the timing. It doesn't ruin your whole Sunday. Like I said, it doesn't put you on the back foot. Like you got to stay up crazy late on Sunday and impact your start to the work week or anything like that. So these laps are much longer than the last race, so keep the speed back up. But as always, penultimate lap before his pit stop, we throw the speed up a little bit, and then on the actual in lap, we go hard. Alright, so it's the optimal stop for us according to our strategy.
Box.
So we got him boxing this lap.
Copy, box.
This lap. You keep an eye on him coming through about halfway. Just going to duck in for his stop here. And he'll come back out in
Sounds
about
like someone's locked up.
15th. Fast out lap. Again, the lap right after. And then we go into recovery for a couple of these seconds. So we got to get these tires at the end, so we can't keep running them hot. Fuel, we need enough for a later attack, or possibly just finishing the race, so we turn that down. And we'll need a little bit of battery
A position
for overtaking
gained for
later.
Alfa Romeo.
So I do about a lap after that to recover,
There's been a crash.
and then switch it back off into normal mode. And just like I said, we did what we did before. We let them race. We just let them do the things. Trust in the drivers. Trust in the car. I don't need to micromanage every turn, every
It's a
lap.
race position gained for Mercedes.
So he did his one and only stop. He just has to look after those tires, not crash, etc., and try and get himself in a good finishing position, ideally 12th or above, as the team target. So now we turn our attention to the other guy, the one who hasn't stopped yet. He's running in 8th position now because everyone else behind him is pitted. And we are in our pit window, which means in the next few laps, we are going to make a stop. We're going to do it exactly the same as we did it with the other guy. But we probably won't have that lap lead up on the medium push mode because we're running out of juice already. You never want to go below 30% performance. That's just where your tires operate like shit. You're more likely to slip, slide, crash, all that. So normally on this lap before we pit, I would throw their tire level up a notch. I'm going to save it for the actual lap, which is right now. So full-blown push on the lap that they pit. He's going opposite of the other driver from the hard to the
Box
medium.
now, box now.
Stay to first. So he'll come in this lap, fall back in the order. No one else pitted, come out in 16th, which is about where he was. And again, a fast lap out to stay competitive and get the tires back up to 10. But they also need to go to the end of the race, and they don't last as long as the hards, so can't do that for too long. And we'll recover some of that battery, just like we did before. Right, and now at this point, it's just about being smart, finishing strong, getting those tires across at the end without slip sliding away. And both drivers are about where you need them to be, especially based on where they start. You just need to be above 12th. Ideally, we would have a driver in the top 10 to earn points, and we do right now. Our target wasn't points at this point in the season, at this point in our development. It just isn't. So the fact that we have a guy in that range right now is huge. And it's a great momentum for our team as far as money and performance. Considering he got fucking 3rd last race. Which, again, unprecedented. Just took advantage of things, and that's where these things are all based on strategy and responsiveness. Being able to adjust to the changing climate of the track, conditions of the race, etc. That's what this game's all about. That and knowing how to big picture develop your business. And that's one of the easiest things that people will be able to figure out and take advantage of in this game. So you see the Magnussen's in 9th. The gap behind him is getting a little bit smaller every lap or so. Not at a crazy dangerous rate, but if we don't keep an eye on it or have a push at some point, we could possibly lose that and lose another point. And possibly some money. So what we can do is, I think when he gets to about the 3-second range, if he does, we can kick up our fuel usage or possibly our tire usage for a second. Increase that gap. Keep that cushion, that confidence that we're going to finish like that. And we can compare the tire performance. So all 3 of us in this stretch right here have hard tires. And it looks like that strategy was definitely best, going from medium to hard, not the other way around. Because you can see most of the people who are running on medium tires are now at the end. These wear down slower, so it's like if the guy was gaining a lot, but maybe he's on a different tire, maybe he doesn't have enough juice to make it all the way to the end, etc. These are all things you can look at and kind of strategize around as well. So again, we're pretty comfortable with this gap. And he got passed by a faster car on a faster tire. Now he's going to run out of those. Maybe not fast enough, so we're going to have to think defensively for a second here. So we're going to put our battery turbo usage on defend mode. We're going to give our... We could just go a little bit aggressive for like a... maybe. And we need to keep Hamilton behind us. We don't want to lose that position to him. The likelihood is this guy's going to be 7-time world champion, and they're in a much better car. So we probably are going to lose that position. Oh, he had to pit because of the tires. Which means we survived for now. So we'll put him back down in some lower modes so he doesn't overheat. He doesn't crash. Can't risk that. Let's keep an eye on it. he's catching the guy behind us. Again, faster tire, better life. We only got a few laps, but we do gotta be careful. Yeah, we're gonna lose that spot. It's not a guarantee, but it's pretty likely. We don't want to fight too hard because we can't ruin our own race and crash. Yeah, like we're never going to catch back up to him, so there's no point in wasting any fuel or wasting your tires, risking anything. Just come across the line. At the end here, stay in 10th, which is a point.
That's Leclerc. Charles Leclerc
And both drivers
is
within
today's
our goal
winner.
range. That was a great result. I mean, for us, that's exactly what we need, if not better. So, strong
A brilliant
result,
performance
good
from the
finish.
Haas driver. Haas there having a very successful day at the races.
So again, overall, 10th, not a good position, but for a car that's bad as ours, and we haven't even put new parts on it, we have had a strong start. He's brought home 16 freaking points already. I mean, we're barely expecting to get any this season. Great start. Everything's heading in the right direction for us. And one of the reasons we picked him up is he is a fast developing driver. He will get experience points, and we can update him, and then he will be even racier, which means he'll be even faster, which means we can have stronger results. We just run another 3.6 mil. We paid out a lot less bonus. Magnussen's bonus was structured so intelligently for the team. He has to finish 6th or higher to get a huge payout, and he's just not going to do that regularly, which means we don't have to pay him regularly. Tour Center was built. It's a new facility for us. It can definitely be upgraded at some point, but it's residual income that scales depending on how high of a level. So, like, for instance, if we go to facilities, look at operations, Tour Center, we make 13,000. If we upgrade it, it goes to 17,000 per week. And it's just passive income. Like in real life, you want passive income. So it costs 237,000 to upgrade that. Probably going to do that. It's money every week. And we'll want to update the wind tunnel at some point, but it costs $10 million to do that. But it has a huge impact on downforce, which is the most important statistic in this game from a min-max perspective. We can't invest in our facilities right now. It's probably going to any major ones will probably have to be done after the end of the season, where we get our positional payout, which is a significant chunk of money. Post-race review, that's a news report. Difficult race. Team performed below expectation. It didn't. I don't know what they're basing that off of. But we did exactly what we needed to be doing. We're in 4th position. We want to be 6th or above. Right? So we talked about Piastri being a fast developing driver. It's the reason we picked him up. And just like in real life, a sought after talent, possibly generational, we don't know yet. Great driver. It's important for me as someone who likes him as a driver, but also knows this game prioritizes him because he was hot shit going into last season, as far as being a prospect. So it's important for me to pick him up, especially because he's young and his stats are low now, which means I can sign him for long for cheap, but he develops very quickly. So the two most important statistics in this entire game, the only thing to focus on right out of the gate with a driver, are cornering and braking. That just determines how fast they're going to be on the track. And he has great ratings in them, which is another reason you want to start with him. After that, you want to update control, which reduces their likelihood of crashing. The other things all matter, but they don't matter anywhere near as much as those three. So what I like to do is I like to get these two up to 90, then control. Then I kind of go based on whatever their lowest stats are. Like for him, it's smoothness, which affects how good his tire wear is. If you get that up to a certain degree, they can go longer, which changes your strategy options for the better. So for right now, We'll put it in cornering, and we'll aim for getting these up to 90 over the course of the next season. So. So Magnussen, he's older. He's not old. He's older. He's not going to develop crazy fast because of that. A reserve driver, on the other hand, you usually want them to have a high growth potential. I'm probably going to replace him, as much as I like Pietro in real life. You're probably going to end up replacing him with a different reserve at some point who's going to develop faster. And I got my eye on a couple that will be scouting over the course of the season. So the next race is in 11 days, so we can look at the calendar to see if anything major happens in that time frame. Suspension will be made, which means we can equip that on both cars now. But there's no design or anything that's going to get done in that time frame. Just like I said, from a big picture perspective, you want to be constantly working on the car. But because our design center is not upgraded, we can only do 2 projects at once. And we're already doing them, designing a new underfloor and a new front wing, which are the 2 most critical components on these cars in this game. At this time, that may change when 23 comes out in a couple weeks. I imagine they will have some developmental changes because this is such an easy system to game right now. But there's nothing else we can do, so we're just going to advance time to the next race. So we made some of the new suspension. So if we go to the Cars tab, we look at car 1, which currently doesn't have the new suspension on it. Switch that onto that one. Now they both have it, so they'll both get the slight performance boost of that new part. It doesn't give much, but it does give a boost. And we want both of our drivers to have. Board confidence check-in. They're satisfied with my work. Financial report, if I wanted to look at our money, I could do that. Got our car development chart, shows our efforts position, our position, compared to the other cars on track. Out of 20, we're about 12th to 14th, which, again, is where we expect it to be. We got the manufacturing done. We got that email. And like I said, before every race prep. Can look at the information on the track, the weather, things like that. Pretty good chance it's going to be dry. 58 laps down in Australia, which is one of my favorite tracks, one of my favorite races typically in the year. So again, realistic with the targets. We'll make sure that we get money. We need money to grow anyway. Qualifying position, do I think we'll be 12th or above? We have been for the past 2 races. It's a pretty safe assumption. Q2, again, that question is basically, do I think we're going to be above 15th? Yes. Race target, our incentive from the sponsors already to finish above 12th. This is asking, do we think we're going to get the fastest lap? Again, I don't think we have a car capable of that right now, so no. Qualifying position streak, the reason we had such a good payout last race is because we did hit our goal of 14th in qualifying for 2 races in a row. That goal has reset, so we have that for the next 2 races as well. And a reminder, we're in the middle of a goal of finishing 4 races at 14th or above. So if we crash, or if we have just a god-awful race, we lose out on this money, which is really important at this stage for our development. And then both of those reset, and they may switch positions where I can't change that, and maybe I can bank on a different performance. But we got some opportunity here, and over the next 2 races to earn some serious coin and continue the momentum we're on, which is great. So again, now you can see that Magnussen does have a point, and again, we want to update these 2 as much as possible. And we'll check on our reserve as well. No points for him. The one thing we can invest in, and maybe now that we have above 10 million, I'll do it. Facilities-wise, we don't at the moment have a race simulator, which holds back their development. So we're going to want to build one of those. It costs $1 million, which is a decent chunk of change. But it's important that we get that weekly XP passively on top of getting experience from the races themselves. So we're going to Australia now.
Welcome
Race
to
3.
Melbourne for a weekend of fierce competition. We're a stone's throw from the beach here at the Albert Park Circuit. It might be party mood in the grandstands, But in the paddock, expectations and tensions are high. The Albert Park circuit is bursting with rapid corners and a long straight.
So you can see again weather forecast for the weekend doesn't show any plus rain. So as we've done, again, your reserve driver gets points faster on the track, doesn't negatively impact Magnussen. That doesn't hurt anyone. So we always swap reserve out, or in, I should say. Setup wise, let's compare our notes to give it the best possible setup. But performance, again, not game changing wise, but competitively with some of the cars around us, absolutely. Which is really going to make all the difference in earning money at this point. Here. Alright, so I was putting in our setups as usual, skip right to qualifying and let them get their experience on track. That you can give some data. We don't micromanage it. Like I said, it's fun in the beginning to go through that, play the mini game of setup, but after a little while, it's just one of those things. And every game
Hello,
has
and thank
those
you
things
for
you
joining
just
us as
gotta
our
stop
race
doing
weekend
something.
unfolds. Free practice is
Because they're too monotonous, too grindy, and they don't give you the results. Again, it looks like we're going to be right on target for our performance. The practice 3 session. Magnussen was 11th, Piastri was 16th. Again, right about the range we need to be in. They got their acclimatization, our parts knowledge is maxed, our setup is great. 13 and 14 out of 15 for performance. Qualifying session. Should need to be above 12, I think was the goal. Simulate these. So we got 12th, which means we get that sponsor bonus. But we finished 12th and 13th. We didn't make it into Q3 this time, which is okay. The expectation is not really there for that.
It's race day with the teams and drivers ready and raring to go.
Haas met their potential in qualifying, and they'll be expected to make a good start.
So we need to be starts race, which is good. Don't look at your sponsors here. Missed that bonus only because we didn't gamble. That was just the incentive. But we did it just to get a little bit of money coming. Alright, let's talk strategy. Looks like a one-stopper might be out of reach here. So I'll think 2 stops. Now we could possibly switch soft in. Be a little bit more aggressive. Let's try that. Let's put a soft in. See if it's doable. It is doable. Let's try that. As the guy's starting slightly behind, you can take a little bit more risky of a strategy in the weekend. So we'll go with this safer strategy for Magnussen, but he can be a little bit more aggressive, right? With his tires, so that's good for us because he can push more. He's got the wiggle room, whereas he's got to focus on extracting the most out of the tires. Let's get into it.
I hope I'm not tempting fate here, but there are quite a few clouds overhead as we look at the lineup on the grid. Looking at the Haas. They're starting in the bottom half of the grid today, so there's a lot of cars between them and the podium. There's the other Haas. Brace yourself for the Australian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Alright, so as usual, big picture view. Let's go a little bit faster.
Haas with an overtake.
So, see where they're shaking out. 11th and 13th, the guy with the faster tire. Unsurprisingly, got off to a better start. But he'll have to stop much quicker. Let's see what we can extract here. Fuel-wise, we're not looking great this race. To probably do some conservation at some point in the middle stint. Alright, pit window open for Oscar. Slow it down, get a little bit of control on these next few laps. So as I usually do, lap before we come in, bump up the tire usage a little bit, be a little more aggressive.
Is that a new race position for Haas?
Sure is, buddy. Sure is. Then as we come into our pit lap, do our in lap, we're gonna go hard. Full aggro. Send it, buddy. Yep, switch onto the hards.
We'll box now.
Yeah, these tires are about shot. See how it plays out. I mean, it's a different strategy to everyone else on track, and it's a different strategy to our teammate, so gives us some options a little bit later on. So he'll come out on a fast outlap as well, but then we're gonna have to do some conservation. Not so much tires, but definitely fuel. Like to do it after the straight. Alright, standard tire. Let's conserve some fuel and harvest some battery here. Magnussen's in his pit window, so we'll switch the camera focus on him. At this view, it just changes the little white icon, makes it easier to track him around the map. Makes him a little bigger on the mini-map over here, too. Piastri's done a whole lap with the battery harvesting, so we'll take that off as well. And we'll put him on another fuel lap just to make sure he doesn't run out. Magnussen coming around, he's going to be in the lap before. So we're going to go aggressive. Actually, fuck it, we'll go full attack. He's got some tire to burn. His strategy is much safer. So as he heads into his pit lap, max out his push. And we'll do a fast in lap for him too.
Box, Kevin, box.
Bucks.
And he came up in a decent position for us.
Haas with an overtake there.
See if he stays there. Alright, fast out lap. Done. Keep him on aggressive tire, but we'll conserve fuel. We'll do a little bit of saving. Just to get that back.
That's a good overtake from Alpine.
Back off the tire usage for a second. We'll keep the conserve on until he's in the green.
Haas with an overtake. Alpine just advanced.
Alright, so now we let them ride for a while. We got 14 laps until the next pit window opens for one of our drivers, so that'll be Piastri. We're a little outside of position, but maybe there's some pit stops to be had ahead of us. Yes, there definitely is. So we should be in good shape.
That's a position gained for AlphaTauri.
Yeah, like I said, at some points in the race, it's just like real life. Not the most exciting, just about running good stint, keeping your tires alive, trying to go a little bit long, making sure that you can respond to any major incident that happens.
Did somebody spin out there?
Oof. First.
And McLaren with a great overtake.
Yeah, this is the section of the race too where you really see that like the car isn't great comparatively. They make no inroads, they fall behind. Make some mistakes like that. Just not a competitive car at the end of the day. Piastri's pit window is open. So keep a closer on him for the next few laps.
We've just had a spin.
He's coming up on his pit lap. Magnussen's about to enter
McLaren
his
gained a
window.
position.
Voila, because it's their last steps. Let them lose at this point.
And we will box now, box now.
Alright, so he's on his own lap. Let's take a look at Magnussen. Okay, keep it on a fast outlap. We'll keep an eye on Magnuson. Done for Piastri. Let's some conservation here. Magnuson's about to have his inlet. He pits. Back on normal. Finish his race out. Alright, Magnuson pitting. Come out just ahead of his team. Last outlap. The fuel consumption. Keep the tire attack up. Harvest some battery for the end of the race. Speed back up and let them finish their races up. See if anything major goes down. I'd like to be 12th or above, but we can live with 14th. As far as our goals are concerned, I'm pretty sure that's safe. I think it's going to pit again. Yeah, maybe one or two people in front of us. I get a spot or two that way. Well, they're too far behind the people in front to make a serious move right now.
It's a spin!
It's a spin. I think these guys are pushing it all the way. Fuck, they probably are.
Sounds like a spin!
Oof. George Jussel, what'd you do? Let's push Magnuson. Air risk of crashing, but he's gaining on the cars ahead of him. Got one lap to make it happen. Yeah, he almost did it.
Oh, we've had
I
a
attacked
spin.
too late. But I think we got where we
Max
needed to,
Verstappen over the
result-wise,
finish line
to make sure we get
and
paid.
today's
Which
winner.
again, the ultimate goal at this stage is to churn a profit. Yep, so we made good money. Just what we needed. Tour center was upgraded, so our passive income goes up as well. Okay, let's do a save, because we don't even have an actual save for this one. Alright, so I think that's going to be a good place for us to take a quick break. Stretch the legs at the bathroom, things like that. Sticky Picky! Sorry, bad timing, I guess, but I'll be back in a sec. Just started getting into racing since been playing GT7. Oh yeah, I love Gran Turismo. I'm gonna get it on my PS5. I have it on my 4. Gotta get that installed on there. Should see it. I'll be back in a sec. Just gotta stretch the legs, get some water. It's a little toasty in this room with the computer running so hot. Let's get back to it. Appreciate the patience. All right, so we were managing Haas, the American F1 team. It was not very good in their rise from 10th place position last year into hopefully something 6th or higher this year. Standings, we're in 6th. We have a decent lead on the team behind us, but we're going to need to outdevelop them on parts, and we have some in the works. But we need more to happen. We need our design center to be built so that I can do more projects at once and get better faster. But we still have almost 2 months left on that construction. And we could invest in these, but we don't really have enough money right now, and the main thing is this. In the meantime, we're doing some other upgrades, which aren't as important, and they do subtract a little bit, but some things that help. Like this only costs $240,000 to build, but it increases the payout that our sponsors give us in the weekend if we hit the mark. So just things you want to do. And that is important to some of the things we talked about already, but so the tour center upgrade was complete. We now make $17,000 a week passive income, which again, huge, right? Okay. So much like in real life, regulation changes happen to keep things more competitive, to keep things developing, to keep things being more efficient, etc. So every year, you have to vote a couple of times a year on some changes. Some minor technical changes. There's 2 options, low speed downforce or high speed downforce. Now, if we look at our car in comparison to the rest of the grid, you can see we are only better at low speed things. So we would probably want to vote on high speed changes. Because then we'll be slightly less behind the curve on those things changes. Post-race overview, difficult race, post-race debrief. So if we look at the calendar, we got a little while till the next race. We have some scouting that'll be done. A couple building upgrades that'll be done. Not the crucial ones, but the ones that'll help. Research period starts next week, so we can start looking at next year's cars, but we can't do that until at least complete some of these designs, because as I mentioned before, can only do 2 at once without that design center being upgraded. But we'll be able to start researching next year's car, and that's critical because in terms of long-term growth, we need a jumpstart on next year's performance. But there's not much else to do in the meantime. We could always look at our reserve. Still doesn't have a development point. We definitely need to change him out. We did a high development reserve drive. So the helipad was built. These are just things to make our team more attractive, more profitable, ideally. Yeah, sponsors target payout goes up. Team attractiveness goes up. Race simulator, passive experience boosts to our driver's development, which is huge. 20% weekly experience gain versus 0. So we scouted this young driver, Jack Duhan, which is a real-life prospect, which is why he has a real photo. He has high growth potential and high aggression, both of which are important to being fast drivers. So I am immediately going to offer him a contract to replace a reserve driver, and at some point after he develops, he'll probably replace The slightly aging Kevin Magnuson. Fair to pay him a lot less, though. He doesn't like the length. He doesn't like the money. Signed for 2 seasons and 280k. It's off for him. It's more money. Let's go back to what the original offer was, 340. He's good with it. He declined the contract. Alright, so I got one more chance. So I'll just go up slightly in both. And he should accept this time. Really? Really? Let's compare against Magnus. This is much better, but much more expensive. So I could change him out to save money. Kevin's most likely to get us points. So we're going to wait on hiring him, but we will hire him at some point. I do in most of my files. Let's just flag him. But Scott the American, who is now an actual F1 driver. American driver on an American team would be kind of cool, right? I'm trying to find the other backup. I have a reserve driver in one of my other games, but see him. Do some scouting. Always good to look towards the future. Right, so here we go. We've completed the design of a new front wing. So if we go into the email for it, we can now manufacture it. Brushed will cost a lot more money. I usually want about 5 of those. I need some backup ones in case they get ruined, and they're the easiest thing to ruin on a car. So if we rush it, we'll get it a lot faster. Costs a little more money though. They'll get the parts sooner, which is huge. But it'll be much better than the front wing we have now. It should make our car that much racier, that much faster. So the regulation votes changed in favor of low speed changes, which hurts us. We can research parts for next year. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more design project, I think. Where's the other design? There it is. Once that one gets done, we'll do 1 and 1 for the next session. We want to continue to develop this used car, but we got to start thinking next year so we can create a faster car for next year. Again, this is a long-term thing. Alright, so look at the targets for this race. Same thing as usual, probably not reaching qualifying 3, definitely qualifying 2. Not going to have the fastest lap. We need to get one more race in a row, qualifying and finishing above 14th to make a solid milli plus, which is going to be big for us. So we got to qualify above 12th, finish above 14th. That is the goal for this weekend. Cars, powertrains are in good shape, but we're starting to lose steam. The gearbox will be losing performance here shortly, the next 2 races maybe.
The hills of Tuscany are green to the south, but here in Imola the air is red hot. Welcome to Ferrari's turf for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. The track has been around since the 60s, but the first official Formula One race was held here in 1980. Let's see what excitement lies ahead this year. This is Imola, and it's an old school track with plenty of elevation changes and lots of corners. There's only one DRS zone here, but it follows the long straight right before Tamburello and should see plenty of action. We might still be early in the season, but that doesn't mean we can sit back and relax. Everything is up for grabs, and nothing is certain at this stage. Let's get this underway.
Reserve drive in. Get our setup locked down. Alright, lock that in, simulate to the qualifying. See how we did.
Our race weekend continues as we head into qualifying.
So right where I need to be, 12th and 13th, based on practice performance. Setups are decent, not as good as I'd like. I like them above 90, but performance bonuses are there. So we got a dry qualifying session, thank goodness. And we'll see. Aiming for 12th, aiming for 12th. Yes, got it. 12th and 13th.
Drivers are strapping themselves in, ready for race day.
Haas gave a solid performance in qualifying, and they'll be happy enough with their grid.
Alright. Race day, pick our strategies. Looks like a one-stopper to be sure. So as usual, we'll have the guy who's slightly behind go on a longer first stint. Wait. And then this guy on a racier stint. Here we go. Let's get after it.
The drivers have now taken position on the grid, and it's looking like a cloudy day. Let's take a look at Haas. Slower than most yesterday, so today they'll be starting from the bottom half of the grid. There's the other Haas. They'll be starting the race from the bottom half of the grid, so there's a fair bit of ground to make up. And we're just moments away now. All eyes are on the race here at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
Okay. Let's get up to speed and see how our drivers do.
Is that a new race position for Haas? Alpha Tauri gained a place.
Oh, something happened.
We've had a crash. Let's
Hamilton
take a look
crashed.
at the replay. Now watch this.
They
Lewis
busted its
Hamilton
wing.
involved in this one.
Locked up, missed it.
Thank goodness nobody else was involved. That
Somehow he got
was
out.
a big crash.
Was able to back it up, get on track again.
The team are devastated.
But that's a free position for us right now. There's 3 different strategies going on right now, which is exciting news.
And McLaren with a great overtake. I think we've had a car run wide. Is that a lockup?
Another position.
Sounds like there's been a crash.
Damn. Rough race so far for Mercedes. Look here, separate the feet from the ground. First major round of pit stops looks to be starting
McLaren
right now.
gain a position.
Still got a little time.
Haas with an overtake.
Magnuson's window has opened for pitting. We got plenty of extra tires, so I think we go all a little hard. Take a lap early. Go fully hard. Hit him.
Box.
Copy, Bubbles.
So I have him fly right now. Go. Yeah, staying ahead of Gasly was important to the race. Let's keep him quick for a little bit longer. Hopefully we can put a nice gap on Gasly. Doesn't look likely though. Okay. So he did his thing. Now it's up to him.
We've just had a car run wide.
So the next person pitting for us will be Piastri. Just make sure Gasly stays behind Magnussen, which is crucial for the overall team's championship result for us. We need to be ahead of AlphaTauri. Gasly drives for. Coming up on the pit window for Piastri.
That's a good overtake from Alpine.
He's going long. Taking these hard tires to their limit. He's about to get passed by his own teammate though, so wasn't exactly the right strategy call.
Box now.
Well, it's too early to tell that, but it doesn't look likely that it was the right call for him. Got some wear in the gearbox for Magnussen, which is what I was worried about. I lost. Lost in the beat of
Haas
it.
with an overtake there.
Yeah, just keep our back. It's falling. Still pulling a gap to
Alpine
Gasly
just
though, which
advanced.
is good. Yeah, I was gonna see if we could gain on Alonso, but he's on a
I think
faster
there's been a
tire.
lock-up.
Just want to keep Gasly behind. It's the only thing that matters.
I think that was a crash.
Oof. Valtteri, what happened, buddy? I think we're gonna finish where we want to finish here. Get some good points for the team after a hectic race. Just gonna bring it across the finish line and not fuck up too hard.
I think
See if
someone's
there's
run wide.
probably no random pitting about to happen in this range, but you never know. Always worth looking at. Amsterdam. The tires are PS3 now. Alright. Solid seventh place finish for us.
Charles Leclerc is today's winner.
Really good points for the team. And keeps us ahead.
Kevin Magnussen.
The team behind, which means we're still in the position we need to be. The board to be happy with me. Oh, actually moved up because Mercedes had such a bad race. Nice. No points for Oscar, but he's close. He'll get there. He is very close today. Yes. Nice. Money, money, money. It's all important. Alright, so we can start development on next year's car. I think we're going to design one more for this year. Your wing is also very important in this game. Keep this lower. Once the next design is done, which is the underfloor here, then we can start on next year's research, which is exciting. All right, so cars. We have a new front wing. We can put on both. And as you can see here, it increases these numbers, which makes our car faster. Let's replace reserve driver. Someone who earns points a lot faster. And someone who we will replace Kevin Magnussen with down the road. There's nothing else to do right now. Let's wait until this design is done. So the underfloor was designed, which is like the single most important thing. So we're going to make the new underfloor. We're going to make 4 of them. Rushing it, still reasonably affordable for us. So let's go for it. But now we want to start on next year's car. We don't want to waste too much money on this year's. It's not a year where we can be crazy competitive. But next year offers us a chance to really start moving up the ranks if we do it right. So we research. You want to do underfloor because not only is there a change to its design next year, it's also the single most important part, like I said. I put about 1/3 of our total points in it. See this jump up huge. Max the downforce. All the drivers, the researchers we can on it. That's going to be huge to jumping out of the gate strong next year. When our design center is done being built, which I think should be pretty soon. Right here, we have the option to do a 3rd project. And that's going to be a big one for us. So the other thing is, we designed the underfloor, we started making it, right? Front wing project's all done, we got some extras. Got a new race reserve driver, earns points faster. We're going to upgrade the race simulator as well, even though it is expensive, because we're going to earn XP faster. We've got young drivers on a young team, need to get out the gate strong going into next year. And now, as always, we're going to pick the plan for the next race. Miami, which is also only in its second year in this game. Oh no, it's his first year in the game. It's the first year, 2022. So this year, real life, 23 was the second year of the race. 57 laps, 308 kilometers as usual. Yeah. So as always, we're aiming for 12th. We're not probably going to reach Q3. We're going to bet on reaching Q2 as always. Finish position, I think we can finish above 12th. So we're going to gamble on that. Now for the hot streaks, same thing we had before. Finishing position 2 races in a row above 14th. In qualifying, pays out $265. It's an incentive from our sponsors. Now the gamble one, 14th for 4 races in a row, which would move it to like 8 races. It's another 800K. We got it last time, so I say we go for it. So we've committed to our targets. We got the new wings on it. We got the new reserve driver to start gaining experience points. I say we go right into it.
We're in the state of year-round summer. It's the Miami Grand Prix, and we're here in Florida at the Miami International Autodrome. The streets of Miami Gardens will come alive with the roar of racing, and the excitement is only just beginning. Spectacle is the name of the game here in Miami, with a stadium at the heart of this track.
So you guys know the drill at this point. Dial in our setup. 8.5, 13.5, 3.7, 3.25, and 0.15. Switch out our drivers because the backup earns points faster. 5, 13.5, 3.7, 3.25, 0.15. Alright, so skip the qualifying. See if we got any faster. With the front wing.
Here we are, back for more.
So we did get a little quicker with the front wing. Which is great news. Our engine and our gearbox are bad. Now the gearbox I will have to change. Anything below 30 in this game is just a dead sentence. So we're going to switch out the gearbox on, I believe, both cars. We will take this worn down engine, however, into the race with us. The 47% should survive another race. So we got a fresh gearbox in for the qualifying sessions. The front wing installed. We should be able to get good results here. 10th and 11th. And for the first time, I think Oscar qualifying ahead of his teammates. Alright, so great result qualifying wise.
It's race day, and final preparations are underway.
So we got both of the payouts there. We should have bet on qualifying 3. Felt like we might have had a chance, but wasn't totally confident. But we got a couple extra bucks there. Let's get into the race. Oscar being the front runner. Give him the racier strategy. And Kevin being a little behind him, we'll do a slightly slower but more assured strategy. get into it.
As the sun continues to shine, it seems like nothing can dampen the mood of excitement here at the track. Let's take a look at Haas. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. Then we have Kevin Magnussen. With their starting position in the back 10, they'll have their work cut
It's one
out for them.
position. I love how they hype up one
And
guy
this
and
is
shit
it.
on the other.
The Miami Grand Prix. It's lights out, and away we go.
Okay.
Very good job. It's not over for us.
Is that a new race position for Haas?
Alright. So let them do their things. Hopefully no major mistakes. Then we can have a strong result again. Continue this momentum. Hard Rock Cafe Stadium, Miami. It's a cool layout, admittedly. Not my favorite track, realistically, but it is a very cool concept. Yastrian 9th. We've had some great results, my man. He qualified strong. We finally got some of the parts we developed in and built. So our car's a little more competitive, and we're already inching in the direction we want to be heading. So we're feeling pretty good, but we've had some great results. The very first race of the season, Magnussen got 3rd, which was just unheard of. You just got to be able to take advantage when something else goes on. This track is, it's like cool, but it's not. But it's in Miami, built right around the Hard Rock Cafe Stadium. Devour. Yes, sir. Yeah, Piastri had a great qualifying. He's in a good position. Our engine's a little beat up, though, so we're losing speed. You change that out for the next race. You can only use so many in a season, though, so you want to use them as long as possible. Yeah, it is very much the same as running like a real race with your feet or with a bicycle or something. It's just incredibly
Who's running
infuriating
wide
when
there?
nothing changes, just lap after lap. And there's just, in some cases, there's just literally nothing you can do. Oh no. First time it happened, but one of my drivers crashed out. Car's out. He's out.
It's a crash. We can take
Let's
a
see
look
what happened to
now.
him.
Now just focus on the Haas.
I fucking binned
And
it.
there, we see the crash.
I mean, again, it would look cooler in a real race. The wreck would be laid better. Random number generator, and they just put a visual
Really
image to it.
disappointed with that. Let's hope it doesn't set the...
But yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Yeah. So safety car comes out while they clean it up. Everybody bunches back up. It's a good opportunity to save some fuel and some tire performance to go on the attack. Alright, safety car is about to come back in, so we'll slow the speed down and get ready for that. Race essentially resets, which is great. See if Piastri can make up a couple spots right at the start. Or if he crashes himself. Back to playing it safe for a second.
Alfa Romeo just moved up a place.
Yeah, that was just losing places. May end up being a real tough race for us. If we should crash into Purr again, that would be ideal. Here in our pit window. Alright, pit stop. Let's go.
Box now,
We
box
pass
now.
gas. Yeah. Clever. Funny. Love it. We seriously do not want him. Like, he's like our direct competition for the overall championship, so can't let him past. Push. He was supposed to pit. He just didn't. That was one of the weirder ones. Yeah, something really fucky happened, and it's not the first time it's happened on this track in this game before. But I gave him the instruction to make his pit stop, and he just did not. Frustrating. Tough.
We've just had a crash on the track.
Coast. And push. Coast. See if we can retain this position. It'll be tough. Speed a bit. Now I gotta keep juggling you behind us. It goes fast. See if we can keep Joe behind. I don't think we can. Which then opens up the floodgates for like several positions behind that. Yeah, fuck.
Looks like that was a position gained for Alfa Romeo.
Oh. Brake check. Very illegal. Yeah. It's very interesting how that works out in this game. Just like the cars, because they're in the same car, the performance difference between the two is minimal, and they tend to stay right in each other's orbit the whole time. Which, in theory, could happen in real life, but it never does. Coming up on the pit window. Yeah, it's so interesting to see because this game came out after last season had actually started. So, like, the thought based on some of the early races is that Ferrari was actually better than the Red Bull. But then the reality of the season actually sank in last year, and it was just not the case. So it's so funny playing this because it's like a window into a history that never actually happened. Damn, I see so much faster than me. Yeah, he's going to be ahead of us, though, when we make our pit stop here this lap. Assuming the motherfucker actually pits this time. Yeah. Unfortunately, I did. Yeah, I don't think I'm way too far back to make up any ground either. Fuck. Sometimes you try to get too clever with the strategy and it just doesn't work out. And this is one of those cases. Bunch of gnomes hiding in the hood. Well, at least you finished the race, unlike the other person. One time in the D&D game, we had a magical car. That sounds dope.
That's Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is today's winner.
Ooh, tough race. Powered by a little chinchilla under the hood to power it.
A brilliant performance from the Haas driver.
There's a bunch of them. It's great. Sounds dope. Okay, so we're staying in 6. That's good. We still made good money. No, I wouldn't have been able to make it to the end. The tires would have been on rims by the time I came around. Fortunately. Sometimes it's possible. Other times, it just isn't. It is Meg's fault that D-bag crashed in the car. So weirdly enough, it actually is straight up his fault, even though it doesn't necessarily impact the other driver. He crashed, which brought out a safety car, which meant that the gap of distance that Piastri had against the people behind him actually shrunk, put everyone together, and then he was back in a fight for his life, as opposed to just being able to drive his own race. So yes, Magnussen's crash actually had a surprising chain result impact that butthead. Yeah, I'll let you know. Have fun, bro. Catch you later. Let's see. I was looking on. That's right. That's what I was looking for. That's way down the road. All right. So let's just get through. Extra suspensions since that motherfucker crashed. So we have a new underfloor. We can put on both cars, and that'll make them faster as well. And then we have to change the engines on these cars. They are not good right now. Okay, so new engines, new underfloors, parts and development. Nothing overly major until the race next week. Simulator increases their XP. Passive. They can't be updated. Let's pick our goals for the next race. I'm just going to go all in on us getting into Q3 with a fresh engine, fresh underfloor, and that new, yeah, I think we're in good shape. So everything except fast to slip, I will bet on myself for, and hopefully we can make some good money. But all right. So I think that's going to do it for me today, guys. We'll be back again tomorrow, trying something different. Diablo 4, if my memory serves. So appreciate y'all. Appreciate your patience during the moving process. I know I was a little incommunicado, and I apologize about that. But we'll be getting back into some consistency here on out, and I promise my communication about anything will be a lot better. But I hope you all have a wonderful day. I appreciate the hangs. Take care, and we'll see you next time.